Welcome to Inspiring Insurance. Our goal is to provide value to the insurance industry through real-life experiences from insurance professionals who have walked the walk. You can expect to hear story sharing, top tips, and practical advice to help you grow and succeed in your career. We hope you enjoy this episode's guest.
Hey, welcome back to Inspiring Insurance, episode number 16. Today we are back in Brisbane. I am joined by Lana Keleher, who is the team leader at East West Insurance Brokers. How are you, Lana?
I'm very good. How are you?
I'm doing great, thank you. Thanks for being in the hot seat this week. Really excited to have a chat with you. We always kick these off just to find out how you fell into the industry. Most people say they fall in. Was that your scenario? Is there a different story behind it?
Definitely fell in. I was a receptionist at a shopping centre, and I actually didn't make it past probation. And on my way home, someone who I'd been working alongside gave me a call and said that she'd heard me on the phones, and her girlfriend was actually looking for a receptionist and asked if I wanted to be put forward for that role. And that ended up being a receptionist at an insurance brokerage.
There you go. Very, very good. And so I think that must have been almost 15 years ago for you then. So been around in the industry for a little while. Walk me through your career.
Yeah, so that was at a small brokerage in Brisbane that's been around for a long time, and I came on as a receptionist, but I also assisted on the domestic portfolio just because that brokerage had a massive domestic portfolio, and just picked it up really quickly. And then I moved into actually being the assistant on the domestic portfolio and got my diploma, and then I moved into managing the domestic portfolio. And then I took 5 years off because I had children, really made the most of my maternity leave. And when I came back, I did a little bit of underwriting at CHU, so it was strata underwriting. It was amazing company and amazing culture, but I very quickly realized I just didn't want to do purely strata. I missed the diversity of broking. So I was only there for a short stint, and then I moved back into broking at a small, medium-sized brokerage. And even though I'd only had experience with domestic because I was qualified, I started taking on commercial renewals. So I was part of the admin team. And then I also was given a portfolio as well. So I was there for a little while, and I wanted a bit more flexibility, and this was pre-pandemic, so there wasn't a lot of work flexibility back then, just because my children were starting school. So I left there to work for an AR. I was his first employee, and he was willing to offer me that flexibility that I wanted to work and also be there for my children. I learned a lot when I was there. He was a really knowledgeable broker, but it didn't work out. After a few years, we realized, maybe we weren't gelling too well together, and I moved on to another brokerage. I'm actually a red flag if you look at my resume, but moved on to. I'll explain why it's actually been really good for me. Moved on to another, I guess, small to medium brokerage, and just learnt so much from there as well. Made some amazing friends. And then I had to leave there as well. I didn't have to, but I chose to leave there as well. And then I went to a brokerage that's actually based out of Sydney. I'll name names if I can. It was GSA, and they are an amazing brokerage. I actually loved every minute of it and really got to see firsthand amazing broking. Brokers actually having amazing conversations with their clients and making insurance exciting again. They also have beautiful values that they fully agree with and live by. And I actually didn't want to leave there, but I was headhunted for a team leader role at one of the larger brokerages. And because I've leadership and management was always a goal of mine, because when I'd been at the other brokerages, I was always kind of taking on that role naturally and training new people and having that authority when I was presented with this opportunity, I definitely couldn't say no. So yeah, I was a team leader. I think I had up to 15 brokers at one point, and the brokers had just, small portfolios, but a lot of them were really fresh to the industry. And I really enjoyed doing like training for them, like giving them product training or even soft skills training. Yeah, no, I really love that. But actually, after 12 months, that role was made redundant. So I remember thinking, what have I done? Like the karma gods don't like me at the moment. But it was a blessing in disguise because I probably would have never left that role, even though I didn't love the company, just because it was a really large insurance brokerage. You couldn't really have an impact or make any change. And because my role was made redundant, I was forced to explore other opportunities. I was mentally prepared to go back to broking just because I figured team leader roles don't really come along every day, and generally it's someone within the company who has moved up. So I was applying for broking roles and I went on a couple of interviews, and there were some interviews where I left and I didn't call the recruiter straight away because I felt like it wasn't a right fit. And then I went on an interview at East West Insurance Brokers, which is where I am now. And I remember when I left the interview, I called the recruiter immediately and was like, I want that job. Like I knew straight away after the interview. It was funny because in the interview, I was applying for a broking role, but they kept asking me about my leadership experience. And I was worried that they didn't want to hire me because they thought that I just wanted to be a team leader, but what they needed was a broker. But I still answered the questions, obviously. And then I got home and I basically got a call and was like, can you quickly jump on Teams and meet with them again? And I was like, sure. And I did. And they actually offered me a team leader role. So they said, they were open to anyone who, could bring benefit to the company. And they saw value in my skills and decided to change what they were looking for to a team leader role. And I definitely accepted and was thinking, oh, actually the karma gods do have my back. I just had to be patient.
How good. Oh, that's really good. Well done. There's so many points throughout that little story there. The first thing I want to ask you is, so you took 5 years off on maternity leave. How did you find coming back into the industry after a pretty lengthy break?
Yeah, because when I was working in insurance, I was quite sheltered to what the industry was like. When I came back, I actually thought that no one would want to hire me because I didn't have that much experience. But because having your diploma means you have your tier one,
Yes.
apparently that's a hot commodity. So, yeah, no, I realized when I started talking to some recruiters that it wasn't going to be too hard. But the reason I went to CHU initially was because they only needed someone part-time, and that was a really good transition for me. But after taking 5 years off and then getting back into the workforce, I realized how much I missed it. And I was like, I don't want to be part-time. I want to work full-time. And yeah, so.
Yeah, fair enough. And so you did your diploma when you were in a support role, an assistant role.
Yeah, so when I was supporting the domestic portfolio, I believe there was some sort of subsidy that the company I worked for got for it. And I don't even remember much of what I learned, but I'm so glad that I did it at the time that I did. I think it's a lot harder for brokers these days to do their diploma. That being said, I think you actually learn everything when you're on the tools rather than doing. I mean, I know everyone requires their tier one, but I do think you learn the most when you're actually broking.
For sure, for sure. And you mentioned that you feel like if you looked at your resume, you're a bit of a red flag, but that's like set you up for success long term. Can you talk me through what that means to you?
Yeah, I learned so much from every brokerage that I worked at. I learned so much about what does work and what doesn't work, and from really knowledgeable brokers, like listening to them on the phone, listening to different techniques, listening to how this broker handles accounts compared to this broker. And in my mind, just like, okay, that really works well, like I'll do that. That doesn't work well, I won't do that. Learning
Yeah.
from other people's mistakes as well, including my own, and
Mhm.
sharing the mistakes that I made whenever I come on. Even in my interview at East West, I talked about like an E&O that I had, and I was
Mhm.
very honest about that because we're very not E&O positive, but we're very breach positive. Like if you've got a breach or you've made a mistake, come forward and share it, and no one's going to be in trouble. And I just wanted to show that yes, like I agree, and this is something that I made a mistake of, and I share it with my team all the time as well. So if they have done something, they feel comfortable coming to me about it as well.
Yeah,
But
great.
they definitely were hesitant to interview me when they saw the jumps around
Yeah.
in the industry. But I think sometimes you have to
Mhm.
find the right fit.
Yeah, yeah. Sometimes you just got to find your forever home, which it sounds like you've found now. So that's really exciting.
Yeah.
And how did you find making the switch from broking into people management? Because a lot of people, once they kind of hit that level, they either love it or they hate it. How did that go for you?
My prior roles, there was always someone junior that I had mentored and trained, and I had received positive feedback directly from them.
Mhm.
I think it was an easy transition for me, and I also feedback that I've always gotten from my team is that I'm relatable.
Yeah.
Like, if they're whinging about something, and like I agree, I will agree. I'm not just gonna shut it down. I'll listen to them. And because I have been on the tools for a really long time, I can relate to them in that way. When I was my first pure team leadership role, there were other leaders there that had never been on the tools,
Yeah.
and the team would just they talk about certain aspects, and they said the other team leaders couldn't relate to them because they essentially didn't know what they were talking about. But because I had been a broker for so long, and I could relate, and I could also train them and give them mentoring because of the experience. It wasn't just do this, do that, I don't understand it. It was advice based and empowerment rather than just instructing and leading.
Sure. And you obviously really enjoy it now, so you feel like you'll do that forever.
No, I won't say I won't do it forever because I'm at a company that is really all about empowering people and not limiting uh, their abilities or anything like that. So whatever evolves will evolve. I don't want to ever pigeonhole myself
Yeah.
to just being a team leader, but I definitely think there will also always be like leadership involved in it in some way.
Yeah, cool. Oh, I love that. That's so good. And talk me through. So you've worked for international. You've worked in some suburban kind of brokerages. What have you found has been the biggest difference between the two?
hmm Um, in the really, really small ones, I feel like there's not enough governance. I don't know if
Mhm.
that's the correct word, but enough, yeah, policing of things.
Okay.
And if someone has like bad habits, you don't know have anyone to go to essentially. And then I feel like in the large ones, you're another number. And, like I know other people love it, and I feel like maybe they love it because they can fly under the radar. But I like the more medium sized brokerages where everybody knows everybody
Mhm.
and you can have an impact. For example, when I was at the large one, we were hot desking, and sometimes I'd be sitting next to someone that I don't even know,
Mhm.
and you'd walk across and no one really knew anyone. So, yeah, I think the medium ones are better because you've got that governance, you've got that
Mhm.
accountability, but you can also have an impact.
Yeah, sure. Yeah, that's so good. Is there anything that you know now that you wish you knew when you started off in the broking space?
Oh, definitely all my knowledge just of the
Mm.
industry and
Yeah.
insurance. But I definitely think that sometimes people can just be paper pushers and they can hide behind emails. And I know from training people and watching people that sometimes brokers are scared because they don't understand everything on a proposal form or on a schedule, but then they're not willing to pick up the phone and call an underwriter and ask them. Or when they're watching a webinar, if they don't understand something, like actually look into it. And I've always been super curious. So if I've come across something and I didn't understand it, I'm not afraid to ask questions. I ask other brokers around me who had more knowledge, or call an underwriter and talk to them. And that's the advice I always pass on to other people as well. It's like, when you are in this industry, there is no way that you can know everything, because there is so much to know and it's forever changing. You just have a you have to have a willingness to learn and to find out and to be curious. I definitely think that when you're in this industry, there's a lot of investigating. So yeah.
Yeah, cool. Love that. And how do you feel that over the next 5 years the role of a broker is going to change? Is there anything that you think is going to really, really change what you do?
Yeah, I mean, we all know that AI is coming in like hot and heavy, and I love it. I don't think it's going to replace brokers. I think it's just here to support brokers. I definitely have trained my team, and I do it myself. You type up your angry email, you chuck it through ChatGPT and ask Chat to make it a bit more palatable and friendly. And I do think it'll help with just like the smaller tasks that people don't always have time to do. So it can free you up to do what's more important, which is have those meaningful conversations with your clients.
Sure. And do you think that there will be any of those tasks which do fully get replaced from AI over the next few years?
I hope it's just like, a client sending a request for a change on the policy, and that's automated and goes into a system, rather than having to call or email all the time. So I feel like that's one small thing that might get replaced. But yeah, that's it really. I think at the end of the day, we know ourselves that when we ask AI questions, that sometimes they're way off the mark and you need to go, wait a minute, that's not right at all. So there's always going to have a need for human element when it comes to in the insurance industry.
Sure. Something that I keep coming across in the insurance market is you have your brokers who are your portfolio managers and your service and retention sort of brokers. I'm finding that there's a lot more of a demand for new business brokers now with the softening market. Do you have an approach to winning new business in the current market that you could share?
Yeah, definitely. We get a lot of new business leads coming through. We have an amazing marketing team at our brokerage, and we're always trying to be innovative and think of new ways to not just bring on new clients, but cross-sell and upsell to our current clients. And we recently brought on a broker dedicated to new business, and it has had a massive impact, because if you're not picking up the phone right away and having that conversation, that lead is lost. I probably shouldn't be sharing all the secrets of the industry, but it's an obvious one. If a broker who has a portfolio gets a new business referral, they might not have the time to jump on the phone straight away, but someone else has. So I think that has a massive impact. I think a broker who's dedicated to new business is actually really intelligent. And sure, there might be times where they don't have a whole lot to do, but they could be thinking about how to get more business or putting plans into place about networking and stuff like that. But yeah, no, I think it's definitely, we've got two new business brokers essentially. We've got one on our general insurance side, and then we have a specialized a department for motor vehicle. So yeah.
Yeah, nice. If there's someone starting out in a new business role, they may come from like a sales background that's making the pivot into broking. What would your top tip to them be?
Yeah, and that's exactly what we have. It was someone who had a real estate background. And I look, I say, look, if you're going to give the client a call and you're not sure what you're asking, like look it up. And also research the client. Like they've come through, you get a little bit of information. Sure, you don't have a lot of time because you've got to give them a call. Look up their website, Google their industry, but the main piece of advice I gave him is just call the client and ask them about their business. You don't have to worry too much about the important insurance questions because you can get to them later. But what you want to do is just have a really good understanding of their business and not have it just specific to insurance, and just, have that conversation. And then we start from there. Okay, this is what the business does. What are their risks?
Yeah. Yeah, cool. Love that. Is there anything for these new people while they're trying to, I guess, understand the business? Is there any specific questions that you would get them to ask?
Yes, it depends on like what your approach is at the time. First of all, we get a lot of startups. So, what inspired you to start this business? What gave you the idea? How long have you been doing this for? What does a day-to-day look like for you? What are your goals in the next 5 years? Stuff like that. But if we're really getting into the detail of it, it's questions like what keeps you up at night? What are your concerns about your business? Or targeted, if this building burnt down, do you have a contingency plan in place? Or if you injured yourself, are you able to make an income? So there's very generalized questions, and then there's more specific questions when you want to start having those insurance solution questions.
Sure.
is what I like to call it. I don't want to call it a product. I want to call it an insurance solution.
Yeah. You've just made me think. You just said then about buildings burning down. What's the worst claim story you've ever come across?
Well, we actually have a dedicated claims team that look after all of that for us. But I've heard stories, definitely. We had a client where I had to have a conversation with them because when the review was done and the broker asked them their contents value, they gave the broker the contents value of what they actually wanted to claim on and not what they actually had. So when they had a loss, the underinsurance clause came into play. So that one's a bit scary. But yeah, there was an issue a few years ago where I accidentally missed a renewal because I thought it was a duplicate. We had two really similar risks, and the policy number was just like extremely similar. So I thought in the reporting it was just a duplicate, and I deleted the duplicate, and I didn't renew that policy. And there was a really big storm, and this was far north Queensland. But fortunately, the insurer was willing to backdate the cover and put in place because they knew it was our intention to renew, and that client had been they had been on risk for that client for many, many years, and they were on risk obviously for the other property that it looked like a duplicate for. So I guess that comes back to another tip where I have and I share with my brokers is trying to always stay with the holding insurer where possible and building that relationship, because I've used that favor before.
Sure. Good tip. What do you think you'd be doing if you hadn't gone down an insurance career path? Would you still be at that reception desk? I guess not, actually.
When I was younger, because when I started out in insurance, I was in my very, very early 20s. Prior to that reception role, I had lots of different jobs, typical teenager, working in retail, working in bars, working for doctors, working at cinemas. I have no idea where my path would have taken me. I imagine I probably would have got a reception role somewhere else, potentially in another industry, and then built up my skills in whatever industry that happened to be. So, yeah.
Yeah, well, it sounds like you've definitely found your feet, so that's great. Well, thank you so much for sitting down with me and being a guest this week. I think this is really, really great conversation, and I'm really, really excited to see, I guess, where your career takes you next.
Thank you.
Thanks, Lana.